In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about my ultimate bull thesis for Tesla stock, and more specifically, I want to talk to you guys about the three markets where I think Tesla needs to perform very well in order for the stock to really skyrocket to some record levels in the future. I hope you guys enjoy the video. As always, please do your own research, make your own decisions. But if you do enjoy the video, please consider hitting the like button because it really helps the channel survive and grow, and it means a lot to me. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started. What's up everyone, my name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. So let's go ahead and kick things off with market number one, and this is the most obvious one, but it's also the one where they're already performing very well in, and they have to continue to compete in order for the stock to perform well over the long term, and that market is of course the electric vehicle market. So let's take a look at where the market is now, where I think it's headed in the future, and where Tesla kind of plays a role in all of that. Okay, now there's many different predictions for how big the global EV market will be, but most research sites agree that the size will be extremely large. For example, Statista estimates that the EV market will grow from around $118 billion in 2017 to more than $500 billion just by 2025, which would also represent a compound annual growth rate of over 22%. But I think what's even crazier than the size of the market is how incredibly small it is still in comparison to ICE vehicles, as it only makes up about 2% of the global automotive market. Yet when looking at a new report published by Bloomberg, we can see that they estimate that electric vehicle sales will actually overtake traditional ICE vehicle sales well before 2040. So in just less than like 2 decades, we could actually see electric vehicles outsell traditional gas vehicles, which would obviously be a huge deal and a major disruption to one of the biggest markets in the world. And the good thing for Tesla is that they're literally ahead of everyone in the space, as they've gone all in on being the first to market with fully electric, high-performance, semi-autonomous vehicles. Of course, that has led to an enormous amount of struggles, including the lack of sustained profitability, but it has also led to early dominance in this emerging market. Through the first half of this year, Tesla has already delivered over 67,000 Model 3s in the United States, while the next closest EV competitor in the Chevy Bolt has only delivered about 8,000 vehicles. In other words, Tesla delivered more than 8 times the amount of their closest competitor. And sure, the competition hasn't really entered the EV market yet in a meaningful way, but even when looking at luxury sedans, their Model 3 has been selling at a much faster rate than any of those makers. And if we look at the past 4 quarters in the United States, the Model 3 beat most of its direct competitors combined, and it even outsold practically every car out there, including cheaper Toyotas and Hondas. So when I hear people say that upcoming electric vehicles from the competition are going to make Tesla go bankrupt, I just think that they're forgetting how Tesla is already outselling their ICE vehicles, and that's with EVs only making up about 2% of the market. So I'm just not sure how the competition is going to magically perform so much better than Tesla in the EV market when they already have their hands full just trying to outsell them with their traditional ICE vehicles. And this isn't even mentioning the fact that Tesla has still not launched their cheaper crossover SUV yet, or their pickup truck, both of which target the 2 largest vehicle types in the United States automotive market. So that should only help push Tesla's brand out to even more customers in the future even further. So I think that if Tesla can maintain their lead in the EV market, not just when looking at technology and infrastructure, but also when looking at their brand, then I think that that will dramatically help the stock in the future, considering how big the market is expected to get over the long term. And don't forget that the 3 biggest markets in the world for electric vehicles are China, the US, and then all of Europe as a kind of combined region. And Tesla already has factories in 2 of those, and they're already kind of planning out a gigafactory out in Europe as well in the not too distant future. So that could dramatically increase their production while also reducing their costs, especially logistical ones as well. Alright guys, so that was market number 1. Now let's take a look at market number 2. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the autonomous vehicle market. So let's take a look at what the potential is looking like for this market and what Tesla is doing to take advantage of it. Okay, now this one is a little more difficult to evaluate because there aren't as many reports on this as there are with like the EV market, but I think a good place to start is by taking a look at the autonomous ride-hailing market. So think of like a robo-taxi service, think of like what Uber and Lyft is doing, but then imagine them all being just kind of autonomous vehicles. And then we can also take a look at the autonomous vehicle platform providers. So think of companies like NVIDIA that design these chips and these supercomputers and these platforms that kind of fuel the autonomous vehicle market. And we'll take a look at where Tesla fits in all of that. So let's just kind of start there and then we'll see where we end up. Okay, now taking a look at a couple different research sites, Statista estimates that the ride-hailing market just in China alone will grow from around $50 billion this year to almost double that amount and nearly $100 billion in just a few years. The US market is also expected to do very well, growing to over $75 billion by 2023. And that's just China and the United States. But when looking at the global ride-sharing market, Markets and Markets research think it will grow by a 20% compound annual growth rate through 2025, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars, and that's one of the most conservative estimates that I could find. But that's just the ride-sharing market, and it doesn't take into account other revenue streams that autonomous vehicles can provide, like autonomous semi-trucks, which we know Tesla should be releasing next year, and that market could be a whole nother monster of its own. And according to Tesla's own website, it's going to come standard with badass performance. Anyway, when looking at that, I always laugh when I see like the way that Tesla kind of markets their products. But anyway, when looking at global autonomous vehicle units, that's also expected to grow north of a 20% compound annual growth rate through 2028, according to Report Linker. And then perhaps the most bullish type of estimate out there is for autonomous platform providers by ARK Invest, which by the way is a really big investor in Tesla, so maybe you could argue that there's a little bit of bias there, but they peg that market hitting over $2 trillion in just about a decade from now, which would be pretty crazy. They also estimate that the automotive market will be worth a similar amount, but they think that the autonomous platform providers market will have dramatically better margins and be less capital intensive, which makes absolute sense when you consider that one would be actually building cars, while the other is just kind of making the platform and the software for those cars to run autonomously. Anyway, companies like NVIDIA and Tesla should be playing a major role in all of this. In fact, Elon Musk had previously claimed that their autopilot chip is up to 20 times faster than NVIDIA's, and ARK Invest thinks that it's around 3 years ahead of the competition, also citing that because Tesla has already gone all in on this technology years ago, while the competition is only recently starting to take notice of the potential, Tesla has been able to collect billions of miles of data, while the next closest competitor in Waymo has only done millions of miles by comparison, and this was up until, I think this was up until October of last year. But anyway, so it would seem that Tesla may actually have an advantage in both hardware technology and also in the raw data collected that can be used to improve the platform while everyone else continues to play catch up. And I'll just finish up here by noting that Elon Musk projects that they will begin testing a robo-taxi service as early as next year, where Tesla owners could make up to $30,000 a year by including their Tesla vehicle in the fleet. Obviously, that would be very soon, and I don't really think that next year is a realistic estimate considering all of the regulations that they're going to have to deal with. But if Tesla was able to tap into this market early on and in a meaningful way, then it could potentially put them in a decent position to compete with both Uber and Lyft, who practically run a duopoly right now, kind of unchecked here, at least in the United States. Either way, a competitive entry into this market could be a major benefit to both Tesla the company and Tesla the stock. Okay, so those are the first two markets, the most obvious ones because the majority of Tesla's sales come from electric vehicles, and obviously they have autonomous functionalities as well. But there's actually one more market that Tesla competes very heavily in right now, and they have a ton of growth potential for the future. And I never hear anybody talk about it, which is a little strange to me, but that market is the energy storage market. And so let's take a look at what Tesla is doing in this area and what their future potential looks like. Now, their solar roof business has been a real drag on Tesla lately. There's been a lot of reports about Tesla not taking it seriously enough, but in their last quarter, that part of their business saw huge drops in performance, both quarter over quarter and year over year. But when looking at their energy storage business, that one is actually seeing tremendous growth as it grew by 81% quarter over quarter and over 100% year over year. This is in large part thanks to their power wall that stores energy in people's homes, as well as the power pack and the newly announced mega pack that store energy at much larger scales to tap into the commercial and utility energy markets. These products offer a number of technological benefits across a number of different sectors like agriculture, home building, schools, municipalities, and even the enterprise sector as well. And the mega pack really builds off of that success, now allowing 10 times faster installation with record capacity and energy density that helps cut down on not just time but also on cost. Tesla notes that during peak hours when the grid needs extra power to meet demand, they usually fire up various power plants that are dirtier and less efficient, so using the mega pack that stores excess energy from wind and solar for when you actually need it is a great alternative. So basically when these grids need extra power, they can just get the energy from the mega pack that has already stored excess energy from like renewable energies and things like that. So it's a lot kind of cleaner, it's a better alternative. So this is a big deal because as Green Tech Media reports, analysts are predicting that the energy storage market will grow by over 1,000% from 2018 to 2024. So in just about a 6-year span, with total investments in the category surpassing $70 billion over that time, with $14 billion being spent just in 2024 alone. And not just that, but Tesla's Gigafactory 1 is also the world's largest battery factory, which Tesla claims is already producing almost half of all the world's electric vehicle batteries. Although that's technically through a partnership with Panasonic, but I've also heard rumors that Tesla is working on their own battery production without Panasonic, so we could see a change in that partnership in the future, and that could potentially help lower costs while also limiting the production constraints of having to rely on a third-party company like Panasonic. But anyway, there's another thing I want to mention, and that's the recent acquisition of Maxwell Technologies that only puts Tesla even further ahead of the competition with increased battery densities and range, not to mention a longer battery life and cost reductions thanks to all of the IPs that they purchased by acquiring Maxwell Technologies. So there you have it, the 3 markets that I think will really propel Tesla stock to record highs in the future if they can perform very well in those markets and compete and maintain a lot of their dominance and their lead that they've already built up. Will that happen in the future? I certainly hope so because I am a Tesla shareholder myself. But anything can happen really, and we all have different opinions on all of this. So make sure you leave your thoughts and comments and questions down below in the comment section. I would love to go through those. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate all the support. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.